I'm AP Town, and welcome to Roleplay Culture. Today we're going to explore 5 legendary mythical swords from our world that we can put into our games of D&D. Holy Avengers and +2 weapons are cool and all, but wouldn't it be more exciting to use swords that new players might have actually heard of? Like, a certain sword of the one true king? Yeah, we'll get there. But why just swords? The sword has become the most iconic weapon despite whatever historical accuracy that might exist there. Personally, I think the spear is the true king. But it was a sword we idolized, and we still do today. From the breaking of Narsil to the finding of Sting in The Lord of the Rings. From these semi-real Hattori Hanzo swords to sci-fi lightsabers wielded by this terrifying creature. Still get chills. So let's get into it. In no particular order, here are 5 legendary swords from our world. I've tried to take examples from around the earth that are not just Western culture. So let's remember, we're trying to give these weapons abilities that exemplify their legend. Number 5, Asi, the legendary sword of Rudra. This weapon appears in the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata from ancient India. During the war between the Devas and Asura, which are a kind of demon, the supreme deity, Brahma, created a fanged beast that glowed brighter than the sun before transforming into a sword which was taken up by the god of storms, Rudra, who then banished an entire army with a single swing. Now that is a legend. I love legends from India. Western legends are kind of like, I killed a dragon with this sword. Whereas Indian tales are more like, I slew an entire army of demons with this sword. You get a sense of where Bollywood gets its pageantry from. From here on, assume all these weapons are a legendary rarity and require attunement. Why legendary and not an artifact? Well, artifacts require more work and are much more difficult to fit into a game. But certainly any of these weapons would qualify. Let's move along. First, we'll classify this weapon as a +3 short sword. After being struck by this weapon, any aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, or fiend must succeed at a charisma saving throw, DC 20, or be banished per the banishment spell. Once per day, the wielder can cast Meteor Swarm, but doing so drops you to 0 hit points, and you begin dying as the forces you wield try to burn your soul away. But Brahma is always watching. You have advantage on all death saving throws. Number 4, Kusanagi-no-Tsurugi, the grass cutter. One part of the 3 imperial regalia of Japan, along with the Yata no Kagami and the Yasakani no Megatama. The Kusanagi was a gift from the god Susanoo to the sun goddess Amaterasu, who passed it along to her mortal line, where it finally found its way into the hands of the warrior Yamato Takeru. While on a hunt, a rival warlord tried to kill Takeru by setting the tall grass he was hiding in on fire. But this weapon granted its wielder the power over wind, and in trying to cut down the grass to deprive the fire of its fuel, a vast gale blew the fire back into his enemy, earning it the name Grass Cutter. It has the statistics of a +3 rapier. Oh, you thought this would be some kind of katana, right? No, sorry to disappoint. But the Kusanagi predates the katana, or even that's predecessor, the tachi. It's a straight-bladed, double-edged sword called a tsurugi. I imagine it being light and swishy, like the wind. So yeah, kind of like a rapier. As an action, you can make one weapon attack that hits everything in a 30-foot cone centered on you and does damage as the weapon is normal. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Finally, you can cast Featherfall at will, and you can also cast Gust of Wind and Wind Wall a number of times per day equal to your proficiency modifier. Saving throws DC 20. This blade gives you mastery of wind like no other. Number 3, Zulfiqar. Gifted to the Prophet Muhammad by the Archangel Gabriel. It passed to his cousin/successor, Ali ibn Abi Talib, according to Shia Islam, after the latter's weapon broke in battle. The Zulfiqar, or spine splitter, was said to have a forked blade. It could only be wielded by those practicing the Islamic faith. Zulfiqar shares a lot of similarities to another certain holy sword. This +3 adamantine scimitar must be attuned by a cleric or paladin. Only the faithful may wield Zulfiqar. As an action, the wielder may attempt to sunder an opponent's weapon. The opponent must make a strength saving throw, DC 20, or have their weapon destroyed. As with any good holy weapon, the power of God is with you. You can use the light and guidance cantrips at will, and the spells Healing Word and Spiritual Weapon a number of times per day equal to your proficiency modifier. Allah bless this holy warrior. Number 2, Gramr. Probably the most famous dragon-slaying sword. It was buried in a tree by the Norse god Odin at the wedding of Signy and challenged its attendees to try and remove the blade. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Signy's brother Sigmund was the only one able to draw the sword. Sigmund would later fight against the jealous king until the blade broke in two. Its pieces were gathered and collected by Signy and given to her son, Sigurd. The blade would be reforged by the dwarven smith Regin, who would send Sigurd on a quest to slay the dragon Fafnir with Gramr and claim his hoard. That sounds like a good adventure. Gramr is a +3 greatsword, but it can be split into 2 sax-like short swords with the same statistics as an action. However, the pull of its legend is too great, and after 1 minute, the weapon will reunite regardless of where the pieces are. It does an extra 3d6 damage to creatures of the dragon type, or 2d6 to any other serpentine creature, such as snakes or yuan-ti, or 1d6 against humanoids. As a bonus action, the wielder may call the weapon back to their hand as long as they're on the same plane of existence. Truly, Sigurd's Gramr eclipses even St. George's Ascalon in its history. Number 1, Excalibur. And here it is, perhaps the most famous sword of them all. The weapon of the one true king, Arthur Pendragon, and the symbol of his right to rule. Geoffrey of Monmouth, source of most Arthurian legend, has a sword being drawn from the stone as a test of kingship, whereas other tales have it as a gift from a fae, the Lady of the Lake, Nimue. Arthur of Camelot and his Knights of the Round Table were the exemplars of chivalrous knight. This +3 longsword does an extra 3d6 radiant damage to creatures of the evil alignment. As a reaction, the wielder can give a resistance to an attack that does damage to any ally within 20 feet. As a bonus action, you can cause the weapon to shine with bright light and create an aura with a 20-foot radius that lasts till the beginning of your next turn. Those inside the aura have an advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. This is truly a king's blade to protect and shelter their people. And that is our list of 5 legendary mythical swords from the real world. There are plenty more examples from Sir Roland's Durandal or the other 8 swords from the Prophet Muhammad. Honorable mention goes to the Vorpal sword, Alice Little's weapon of choice in Wonderland, which does appear in D&D. Could we also explore other famous weapons that aren't swords? I mean, King Arthur alone had at least 2. The lance Rongomenad that slayed Mordred, or the dagger Carnwinin that slayed the witch Ordu. But those are videos for another time. And if you want more, smash that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, share the video with your friends, leave comments below. What legendary blades do you think should have made this list? Is Excalibur the most famous sword in the world? I would love to hear a non-Western perspective. Until next time, I'll see you in the parlor.